From the studios of Blackwater Media in the city of Atlanta, it's time for another edition of the Dr. William Lester Show. The show, of course, can be heard on the Blackwater Media YouTube channel, also the show's Facebook page, the Dr. William Lester Show, also my personal Facebook page. And occasionally, when it occurs to me to get it posted, you can hear the show on the Agenda Earth Facebook page, as well as the cryptoreality.us Facebook page. So all the folks have many ways of listening to the show. The show can be downloaded, of course, as an MP3 file and enjoyed on your digital device. Android, iPhone, Kindle, iPad, all of those things. Now, of course, Halloween is come and gone. And it was fantastic. It was glorious. And we had a marvelous time doing reviews and commentary on films that were included in the annual Cool Vintage Halloween Classic Horror Film Festival. It was so much fun to do, to be able to talk about these films, present them to you, share them with you, and have you kind of participate in that experience. Was an incredible amount of fun. And, we've got, Labor Day's behind us. Halloween is now behind us. And we are now somewhat deeper into the holiday season, as it were, right? We're getting into that. And so I wanted to, talk on this show about that experience, because we're just moving deeper into it. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of celebration. And of course, there's no better way to do those things than in the cool vintage way. So tonight I'm going to, be talking to you about a couple of things, well, several things. But I wanted to start off, of course, we're just a few weeks out from Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is quite frankly predicated on all things cool vintage. But I wanted to share with you on this show some highly recommended blends or concoctions or recipes for classic cool vintage Thanksgiving cocktails. We'll cover some other things a little bit later, to be sure. But I wanted to go over these with you so that you can be sure to make these mixtures, make these beverages, make these libations an integral part of your Thanksgiving celebration this year. For these drinks, I'm using as a base, generally, I'm using wild turkey, appropriately enough. I'm going to start with what I call the cool vintage old-fashioned Thanksgiving. So I'm just going to go down and just kind of give you the basic recipe for this. And please keep in mind, there aren't really any hard and fast rules to this. And it's very much, based on your particular likes and dislikes and your particular whims and what have you. But I'm going to give you what I consider to be a general guideline, which will lead you into just fantastic cocktails. And this can be something that you prepare for a gathering of friends and family, for a special function, or just for yourself. Maybe it's time, this time of year, maybe you're sitting down in front of the television, you've planned an evening, you've planned an afternoon, and you've got great food, and you want these drinks to be part of, watching, say, a great afternoon or evening of college football. Well, you're all set. Well, we'll start with the cool vintage old-fashioned Thanksgiving. Here we go. We start off with 2 ounces of wild turkey, 81 rye, 1 teaspoon pumpkin spice black tea syrup. See how autumnal and seasonally appropriate this all is? Let's mix in 2 dashes of Barkeep apple bitters, 1 dash of Angostura bitters. You combine the ingredients in the old-fashioned glass over a large ice cube. Now, here's the wild card. Pumpkin spice simple syrup, 2 parts organic cane sugar, 1 part strong pumpkin spice tea. What I recommend here is the Republic of Tea's pumpkin spice. Now, brew the pumpkin spice tea. 1 tea bag for every 6 ounces of water, of course. Combine the tea and organic cane sugar, bring to a boil, stir as the sugar dissolves. Let the syrup cool before using. That is the Cool Vintage Old Fashioned Thanksgiving. Let's move on to a concoction that I call the Old Fashioned 17. Again, 2 ounces of wild turkey rye, 0.75 ounces of Campari. Now look, I'm going to give you some measurements, and you don't have to, get too caught up in the exact numbers, but just for the purposes of specificity in what we're talking about. Okay. 2 teaspoons of Cynar, 0.25 ounces of Cinzano dry vermouth, of course, 0.25 ounces of simple syrup, 4 dashes of the Angostura bitters, 2 dashes of Fee Brothers orange bitters. Combine the ingredients in a mixing glass with ice, stir and strain over 1 large ice cube. Garnish with a brandied cherry, if you so desire. Again, you cannot possibly go wrong. Let's move on. This is a concoction that I lovingly refer to as the old-fashioned pilgrim. So you know that this is going to be cool and it's going to be vintage. Again, 2 ounces of Wild Turkey 101 Kentucky Pilgrim Infusion, 0.5 ounces of Clover honey syrup, 2 dashes of orange bitters, orange twists, and cocktail cranberry for garnish. Now here's how it happens. In a glass, add the 3 ingredients and stir gently. Top with ice and stir gently again. Express orange oils from a wide twist over the glass, and then spear the orange twist with a cocktail cranberry in between for garnish. Now, Wild Turkey Kentucky Pilgrim Infusion. Now check this out. In a wide-mouth glass infusion jar, place 1 liter of Wild Turkey 101 and 2 bar spoons of cardamom seeds. Close and leave in a dark, cool place for just 1 day. Strain out the cardamom and add 1.5 cups of dried, unsweetened cranberries and 3 sticks of cinnamon. Close and leave for an additional 2 days, agitating once per day. Strain the solids and store in the original Wild Turkey bottle. Now this is something that, this is prep work that is something to carry you through the holidays. But you won't be sorry. Clover honey syrup. Dilute clover honey with hot water on a 1-to-1 ratio by volume. In other words, 1 cup of honey to 1 cup of hot water. Let the syrup cool completely before using. And this is a concoction that will be an enhancement. It will be an asset to all of your holiday libations. So those are the cocktails that I'm recommending for the cool vintage Thanksgiving. We will revisit these ideas again after Thanksgiving as we move into the Yuletide season, where it becomes even more exciting and more important and more appropriate to have the right mixtures for adult libations. But this will certainly get us through the next 3.5 weeks. Now, I want to move on to an area that I think is of great importance. We talk about cool vintage guy stuff on the websites, on the Facebook pages. And one of the wonderful aspects of this and you've seen on the Facebook page, you've seen me from time to time talk about Cool Vintage Guy food advisor. And I wanted to throw a few things out to you on this show to further that. I'm really fixed right now on the sandwich because the sandwich in the Cool Vintage lifestyle, the sandwich is an incredibly important element. And what we've done is we've put together some suggestions for Cool Vintage Guy sandwiches that can move us through these days and weeks. Of course, before Thanksgiving, when you have the big meal, you have the super meal, the fantastic Thanksgiving Day meal. But there's a lot of time in the interim. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of off days. There's a lot of vacation days. There's a lot of sports watching. You're watching football. You're watching basketball. You're watching great movies. And on a lot of those days, you're wondering, what am I going to eat? What are we going to eat? What am I going to serve? What am I going to prepare? Well, the sandwich doesn't have to be something that's simply relegated, to the lunchtime on the sandlot. We're going to talk about how to prepare delicious gourmet level sandwiches, frankly. I mean, these will be sandwiches that would be appropriate for the dinner menu. So I'm going to start off with what I call the old school hot chicken sandwich. So again, I'll just go down my little list of things and listen, again, a lot of this will simply come down to your personal tastes, likes and dislikes, and you can add and subtract and put something else in. Maybe there's something that's great that I didn't think of, and I'll rely upon you, of course, to send me your suggestions on Facebook and or YouTube. But these sandwiches they're very basic recipes that don't require you rambling around the kitchen all day. They are also sandwiches composed of ingredients that you can purchase at your supermarket at modest price points. So it's good all the way around. So let's get to this. The old school hot chicken sandwich. Here we go. Now, I'm going to say one, like sub rolls, sub sandwich rolls. But again, that's subjective. There's a million different types of rolls, sandwich rolls, or bread that you can use for this sandwich. Chicken tenders. I recommend Tyson. Tyson makes outstanding chicken tenders. Very good chicken. Very good price point. I think the bag is around $5. There's a bag in the frozen food section that's around $5. Between $5 and $6. But I'm recommending that. Tyson chicken tenders. 2 tablespoons of hot wing sauce. You can substitute. You can use barbecue sauce. Any sauce that you like. If you choose, use a half cup of mozzarella cheese. I, in many instances, will not use cheese on this sandwich, but I'm including it because a lot of guys like the cheese. They love the mozzarella. But you can also use Parmesan. You can use Swiss. You can use whatever strikes your fancy. Blue cheese dressing, if you want to dip, if you want to just spread it on your roll. But again, it's up to you. I also like Russian dressing on this particular sandwich. You can bake the chicken in the oven. You can deep fry it, get that really nice, crispy exterior on the chicken. After it's ready, while the chicken's still hot, throw it into the wing sauce and let it get really well saturated. Then put it on your roll. If you want to add tomatoes, fine. If you want to throw on a pickle, that's fine. Couple of slices of onion. And again, if you like blue cheese, have yourself a little, put a little blue cheese dressing in a small bowl or a coffee cup or something for dipping. But it's the old school hot chicken sandwich, and it's an absolute winner. And it's one of those things too. If you're like you said, if you're having an afternoon of football, make 5 or 6 of these things. When you have your guests or whatever. But it's perfect. The old school hot chicken sandwich. Let's move on to one of the what must be considered one of the all-timers. The vintage club sandwich. The vintage club sandwich. Let's go down through here and talk about some of the particulars. And again, ultimately, you do it the way you like it. We need some slices of white sandwich bread. I don't use that, but that's the classic traditional way. I'll use some wheat mountain bread, or I will use like a Cuban sandwich type roll. But you need to have some crisply fried bacon. Can't get around that. You need to do the bacon. If you like mayonnaise, it calls for that. Is mayonnaise required for this? Absolutely not. I would just as soon use Russian dressing or spicy mustard, or even Thousand Island dressing. But you customize this, just like you do the drinks. Add sliced chicken, turkey, tomato, and lettuce. And I know there's a million different formats that this comes in. Listen, get these meats in the deli section of your supermarket, where they sell some excellent deli cuts. Something like boar's head. That's just one of a lot of different brand names. But go to the deli department of your supermarket and get yourself some high quality deli cuts. Now we're saying chicken or turkey, but you could use roast beef here. You could use ham. You could use corned beef or pastrami. We're calling it the vintage club sandwich, but it's also customizable. I like corned beef. I like pastrami. And I have made this particular sandwich using those meats. One of the all-time favorites is the classic steak sandwich. And this is, I'm just thinking back, I have prepared steak sandwiches on a number of occasions. And it's always turned into a great night of conversation and food and a film or sporting event, drinks, cigars, perfect libations. So again, here's a basic guideline, and then you can take it and run with it and make it your own. The great thing about this is that I would expect there to be little variations from house to house. It's like house rules, right? You know how when you were a kid you play Monopoly, and when you come to my house to play, it's like house rules and everybody honors those rules. I expect there to be little variations, little personalized variations from house to house. So we start with sirloin steak, cooked to your taste. I prefer steak well done, and I know there's people all along that spectrum. So you cook it to your taste. Tablespoon of barbecue sauce. I'm going to throw out a couple of suggestions about barbecue sauce, knowing full well that there's a million different opinions and a million different likes and dislikes and what have you. There are 2 brands that I would like to recommend and suggest to you that will enhance this sandwich greatly. The first one is made by Stubbs. It's a barbecue sauce made by Stubbs. It is a remarkable sauce. I stumbled onto it years ago just in an experimentation mode, and I've been using it regularly for a very long time. They have a traditional version. They have a sweet and tangy version. They have a spicy version. The spicy version is outrageously delicious on steak. The second brand is called Devil's Spit, and it's good and hot, as the name would suggest. Almost certainly your local grocer will carry either of them or both of them, but certainly, you should be able to find them. Of course, you need a little salt. You need a little black pepper. Anytime you can do, you can crush the black pepper and do it cracked. It's better. It just releases so much more flavor. Use a yellow onion. Now, many times I will be tempted. I'll go ahead and use a red onion because to me, it just jumps out at you more. Use mushroom, quarter pound, half a pound of mushrooms. I can never resist adding green peppers. I can never resist adding green peppers. If you have garlic, mix that in. You don't have to go out and buy garlic just to do these sandwiches, but if you got some garlic, if you got fresh cloves of garlic, great. If you got the little jars of garlic that we always seem to have in the refrigerator, that's fine too. Now, listen, take your steak, and I know that at the top I said sirloin, but there's lots of cuts of affordable affordable steak cuts that you could purchase. But whatever cut that you buy, take the extra 5 minutes to pour some charcoal in and grill your steak. It's just that much better. Let the steak be grilled. Grill your steak, and then when it's done, slice it. And you can slice it if you like. I have done steak sandwiches on a number of occasions without the slicing, and you just would serve, one particular fillet on your roll. So we're not talking about making Philly cheese steak. That's not what we're doing, folks. We're making classic steak sandwiches. Okay? But I would just recommend, I wouldn't even consider doing it without grilling the steak, unless I just absolutely had no access to a grill. So there it is. We've got it covered on the food side. We've got it covered on the drink side. We've got the great old-fashioned 17. We've got the old-fashioned Pilgrim. We've got the cool vintage old-fashioned Thanksgiving. We've got the great steak sandwiches. We've got the old-school hot chicken sandwiches. We've got the vintage club sandwiches. This is great, cool vintage guy stuff to get us into this phase of the holiday season, Thanksgiving. We're going to stop it there because I've had so much fun that if I don't stop now, this will turn into like a 6-hour show. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Listen, guys, be sure to check out my new audiobook, The Color of Shadow, 10 stories of the supernatural, horror, the unexplained, the mysterious, the macabre. Please check that out. You can go to the website, thecolorofshadow.yolasite.com. There's links all over my Facebook pages, so there's no issue with finding out where it is. But check that out. It's available for download now. It is like the first official publication courtesy of Blackwater Media. And so I'm really excited to share it with you. And so go up there and check it out. The Color of Shadow. So that'll do it for this edition of the Dr. William Lester Show. You can listen to the show on Google+. You can listen to the show on the Blackwater Media YouTube channel. You can listen to the show on the show Facebook page, the Dr. William Lester Show. You can hear it on my personal Facebook page. You can hear it on Agenda Earth's Facebook page and CryptoReality.us Facebook page. I'm Dr. William Lester, reminding you that when you come here, you can be sure of a couple of things. It's always cool, and it's always vintage. See you next time.